Hi everyone, this is Choosing a Different Future with Siris Rivas. I am Siris Rivas and I'm super excited for this first episode of the show, and I have two guests with me for this premiere episode, two people that are very dear to my hearts. But before we introduce them, before I introduce them, I would love to just talk really quick about what this show is going to be about. So the premise of this show is to actually talk to people who are choosing something different than was ever expected of them. They're creating lives that are beyond what was ever projected and expected upon them and their bodies. And how that's all inviting all of us to choose something different for us, choose what's actually going to work for our lives and for our bodies. And this is really important to me, this topic. I've been finding that throughout my whole life, I have been kind of a magnet for people who are marginalized, are different, who are very special, who have very amazing and unique gifts and capacities that aren't always acknowledged by other people. And it really started with the two people that I have on my show today. And so that's why I thought, wow, if I could just start off this show with them, that would really set the tone for the rest of the season. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you my brother, Shaniel Omar Rivas, and my sister, Sira Mhia Rivas. Y'all want to say hi? Yay, hi.
Hello.
So no matter where we
Hola.
are in the world, no matter where we are in the world, we get to connect, and I'm so grateful for that. We're actually in 3 different places, and through the magic of technology, we're getting to talk and have this wonderful conversation that I'm so grateful for. And also that you get to see us and see what's been going on in our lives throughout our lives. So do you want to talk a little bit about where you are and what's going on in your life a little bit before we get into some of the other things we talked about discussing today?
Okay. Right now I'm in DeKalb, Illinois. I am a full-time student at NIU, Northern Illinois University, and I work almost full-time as a contractor for this company that partner up with Amazon. So what I'm studying at NIU is computer science related to artificial intelligence. So technology has been my thing long before I started taking this major. So I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah.
Awesome. And you might notice with my brother, so I'm the oldest, and then my sister Sira comes after me, and then my brother Shaniel is third. And you might notice that my brother has a different way of speaking. And do you want to tell them why that is?
I'm hard of hearing.
You are born in a different country than the two of us, right? It's not like an accent.
Oh yeah, that is true. I'm hard of hearing, so I know sign language. For some of you who does not know what hard of hearing means, it's just like partly deaf, not just completely deaf. So, I was born here in America, in Chicago, Illinois. Just people say it's an accent, but I would not call it that way. And others would say with a speech impediment. So,
And what has been the case in our family is actually we just call it a speech difference. And that's been really interesting because, and we can talk a little bit more about that as well, is the words that we use for ourselves and for each other has really changed and impacted our lives. There were certain words that we were allowed to say when we were growing up, and there were certain words that we were not allowed to say. And that kind of shifted some things as to what paths we chose in our lives. Let's put it that way. Sira, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Siris Rivas. I live in Chicago, in Hyde Park. And I'm born with spina bifida. I was born in Puerto Rico, just like my lovely sister.
So can you tell people what spina bifida is, if they haven't heard of it before?
Yes, it's a disability that affects my spine and other parts of my body.
Mm-hmm. So with spina bifida, it's a congenital disorder, and Sira was born with a hole in her spine that, depending on what level it is on the spine, can affect different organs. And it also influenced her mobility. So she didn't learn to walk until she was 4. And it's awesome that she does walk. She uses braces on her legs. Many people with spina bifida never get to walk on their own, and they are in wheelchairs. So Sira is just amazing on so many levels, and just broke all of the odds, defeated all the odds with that. No one thought that she was ever going to be able to walk. So I'm kind of hearing some background noise. Let's see here. Just a little bit again. We'll just work that out. So one of the things, I really would love this to be a true discussion. We have so much fun as siblings together. I'm so lucky to have these two in my life. I was literally just like messaging them earlier, being like, when can we all be in the same place again so we can hang out? We're all really busy creating very different lives. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of start off with is, what life were people thinking that you were going to have when we were all growing up? Because each of us had a lot of different projections and expectations impelled upon us. So do you recall what people were saying about what they expected your life to be like? Who wants to go first?
I'll let the lady go first.
Okay. Well, people didn't think that I was going to walk, as you know. And also, people didn't think that I was going to get very far. Like, I don't think I told you this, but people thought that I was going to be living at home forever.
Yeah, so you were going to never be able to live independently. Yeah, I do recall that, actually, that a lot of people were like, oh, Sita's going to be living with her mom for the rest of her life. And that was kind of just a given. And that actually ended up not being true. You're not even in the same state as your mother right now. How cool is that? Yeah. And you have your own place. You have your own apartment. You were living on your own. It's been how many years now that you've been living on your own?
Well, I lived at Annixter Village for 10 years. And then I moved out of Annixter Village, and I'm living now with my boyfriend, Robert.
Yeah.
And we've been dating for almost 3 years now.
And that was another thing that people weren't necessarily expecting for you to have in your life, is someone that was a companion that would actually appreciate you and care for you and have your back, and that you would get to have so much fun with. And we just absolutely adore Robert. So I'm so glad to hear that. There was other thing too, I remember, is that they didn't expect either of you to go to college. I remember that. So that was another thing. And you got to study in a couple different colleges and completed your associate's degree. What was it in again?
Arts, general arts.
Yeah. And so that was yet another way that you kind of outcreated anyone's points of views and projections and expectations about you. Shani, I call my brother Shani, by the way, just in case you're not clear as to who I'm talking about. So all of his friends call him Omar by his middle name, but I call him Shani. Sira often calls him Shani as well. We're like,
and our family friends also call me Shani too. So we have family friends too.
They're allowed. We did it first, though. So, what were people expecting you to have as your life?
Well, as I recall multiple times, that people have expected me not being able to speak. So with that being said, there was a tremendous length of time that I had to have speech therapy or to actually practice my speech. And there, if I remember correctly, when I was younger, I was to know some Spanish, but then they told me that I need to know English first before I can fully speak Spanish. So that was another expectation there. The expectation regarding to my future was kind of random. Like some were expecting that I was gonna be working like land let me see, how do you call it? A real estate to buy houses and flip them. Some people were saying I should be like a business in the business field. And the whole time I've been studying a lot of the engineering field, mechanical engineering, mechanical electrical engineering, manufacturing engineering. And you see, I love to build things. I love to make things, being creative, and that's why I picked those fields. And as I've been studying throughout all these years at Washington Institute of Technology, which is, they have this deaf program, and that's where I went to. It's a private institute over there in upstate New York. And I decided to take a break with an associate degree in computer integrated machinery, which is like being a machinist or a CNC operator.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some obstacles that I have faced after I took a break from college, and I have decided to come back to college into computer science, artificial intelligence. And I think I could make a difference in the world with that. And people don't really think I could do it. But here I am, 2019, and I'm graduating May 2019. So, yes, I can do it.
Yeah, how does it get any better than that? So proud of you, my brother. And here's the thing with that is that it's on multiple levels that all of us had these different projections and expectations, these different points of views that people were telling us. And for me, a lot of people expected me to be married with kids by the time I was 25. And, here I am in my 30s and, almost in my 40s, I guess. I forget my age all the time. And one of the things that struck me was that I started to buy some of those points of views initially. I didn't really ask a lot of questions about, I asked some questions, but I didn't ask as many questions as I do now about what I really desired, what was really going to work for me, what life did I really want to create, and it was a lot of trial and error. It was like, okay, date this person, take this job, go live here, go move here. And with all of that, it kind of led me to where I'm at now. But was there ever a time for either of you where you noticed that you were kind of taking on some of the points of views of other people, and then as soon as you realized it, you started choosing something different? Or how did that awareness even show up? Sira, can we start with you with that?
Yeah, it was like people were trying to decide for me what I should do in the future.
Okay.
Like, be an author, be this, be that. I'm like, and like, that did not feel light to me. I mean, like, yeah, I like books and I like stories and all that stuff, but I don't want to write books.
Yeah, and here's the thing: it's even more tricky when it's sometimes the very people that you really care about the most that are telling you that you should do this or that. So you really value their opinion. And we all went through that in different ways, where there were people that we really love, that we really care about, that were giving us their point of view about what they thought we should do with our lives. and we could consider it, or we would really choose it for a while, and then we're like, this isn't really working for me. And it's been partners. We've had a lot of different people that we've dated. It's been our parents at some point or another. It was almost like each of us were raised by a different pair of parents, even though we have the same mom and dad.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know if
Do we?
And so, you know, what was expected of me was very different than what was expected of Sira and what was expected of you. And it ended up being that none of that, a lot of that wasn't actually what's true for us. Even with the best of intentions that our parents had, it was like we had to carve our own way. And it's been really cool to see how different our lives are from when we were growing up, and how it keeps changing. Like, I'm really excited for the next 5, 10, 20 years, because so much has changed in the last 5, 10, the past 5 and 10. Like, it's just been amazing. So, okay. I have so many questions. I mean, you guys know, we often, when we get together, the three of us, we go and we spend the day together and we're playing cards and board games and we're just talking and catching up. So we could easily talk for a long time, but I know we have just a bit of time for the show. So, when did y'all realize that you were different from other people? Was there a moment that you kind of were like, this is it? Like, oh, like, was there that, or was it just something else?
Well, honestly, I always felt different from other people. Like all my life. Like, I don't even think it was always because of my disability. But I always felt that I was different in some other way. I just had a hard time, like, labeling how I was different. But I always felt different.
Mm-hmm. So from the moment you were born, for as long as you could remember, at least, you felt different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always felt like kind of like a outcast in some way.
Yeah. And I think we've all felt that even within our family. So even within the three of us, we've all expressed different moments when we're like, I think you're the favorite. No, I think you're the favorite. No, I think you're the favorite. Like, it's been, or like, oh, you two are closer than me right now. Or we're the two that, you know, like, it's these different like pairings depending on what time in our lives things were going on. So for you, Shani, when did you realize that you were different?
As I mentioned earlier, I was partly deaf, hard of hearing. So when my mother took me from this deaf program to this hearing program in 4th grade, I have this interpreter, and that's when all of a sudden everybody recognized me as completely different. Like, who is this interpreter for? What is she doing with her hands? And so she's interpreting and translating for me in the classroom, and that's how I was identified as different. So since 4th grade to even now, some people are still not aware of what interpreter is doing with their hands, even if there was like a big presentation in school, in the auditorium, or if there's something going on, a big event for a biggest presentation in college that I want to attend to see what the speech was about. So people were always curious, why is the interpreter there for me for, you know? So that's how I noticed I was different since 4th grade.
Yeah. So here's the thing with that. It's actually surprising to me to hear that it was 4th grade, because you were diagnosed as hard of hearing, a profound to severe bilateral sensory neural hearing loss from really young age. You had a bunch of surgeries and different things the first couple of years of your life. So did Sira. We were basically living in the hospital for the two of you, between the two of you, for most of our childhood, with different doctor's appointments, therapies, and things like that. And so that was really the marker for you, 4th grade, and it wasn't before that. That's really interesting.
Well, because before that was, I didn't think I was exposed as much before that. Before that, there was just a deaf program where everybody are wearing the same uh, hearing aids and microphones. And we're in that classroom from, I think, it was pre-kindergarten to third grade. And the thing is, with that being said, from first grade to third grade was the same teacher with everybody else having from second and third grade too. So we're sharing the same teacher. That's why it was, I noticed a difference when I hit the fourth grade when we make the transfer. Because then by that time, that's when I was the only hard of hearing student in the classroom. Or in pretty much through the entire school actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So what actually helped you start creating a life that worked for you, given that you're both so different from not only the world, but even from people in your family and things like that? And we've talked about that in family meetings, because we have family meetings, y'all. Where, right? Like my mom would be like, okay, family meeting time, ding, ding, ding. We'd all be around the dining room table having a family meeting. And so what actually helped you start choosing what was going to work with you, given that you had, for other people would be very obvious differences, be it a sensory disability or a physical disability, different medical things going on. What got you through that?
For me, you see, the priority for me, it's not just only because I have a hearing disability, but also because I was born with a heart murmur and diaphragmatic hernia. So it was a doctor's recommendation that I need to be active in sports. And I have been active since I was like maybe 5 or 7 years old with tennis, basketball, soccer, snowboarding, skateboarding, rollerblading, all kinds of sports really. And with that being said, I have participated in middle school and high school sports teams. So soccer, basketball, and tennis. Those are the three sports I've been playing from middle school to high school. And also in the park district as well when I was younger. So that helped me get an exposure of myself that what I'm capable of doing and not let my hearing disability affect me or how I do things. So I get to show people how I do it, and it has worked pretty well, and I don't see any downside for that. So, and I actually enjoyed doing those things, for fun. So yeah.
So it started off as a suggestion from someone else with your health, but then it ended up being where you were like kept exploring more instead of keeping yourself isolated, which we all know many people that have had all different kinds of disabilities, all different kinds of labels, they tend to isolate themselves. And your choice to be in a lot of sports helped that. And also our family is super, super social. So that helps.
Yep.
We have all these different, big gatherings in our family. When we get together, we're dancing, we're singing, we're joking around and all these different things. So choosing the family that we chose, and them being so dynamic and so like, let's go here, let's go there, and let's be together and let's talk things out, I think was really pivotal for my life. And what Shani was talking about is the heart murmur, and he had diaphragmatic hernia, in case y'all didn't catch that. So that's actually when there's a hole in your diaphragm and the organs below the diaphragm went up into his chest, not allowing enough space for his lungs to breathe and grow. So they had to push all those organs down, sew up the hole in the diaphragm, and then he had machines that were breathing for him for a while until he had enough lung capacity and ability to breathe on his own, in addition to the heart murmur that he had. So that's what he was referring to there, just to be clear on that. Just to clarify a little bit more on what you were saying, Shani, so are you saying that by the exploration that actually gave you the information for what worked and what didn't work and what you'd like to kind of do more of? Or was there something else, like some other mentor or or guide for you through that process?
You see, the thing is, when I was recommended to do active in sport, that was my one track goal. But then the more that I did it, I realized the more that I exposed myself to people, because the fact that I'm so different is that people don't really know how to come up to me or how to communicate with me or be able to, hang out like everybody else, you normally hang out. So that was difficult. So I helped try to initiate by participating in the sport, and then they were actually able to socialize with me as a team in sport. And then that's when they started out to socialize with me in school. And not only just sports and stuff, I also remember like I joined the Hispanic dance club. So that was another thing. So what I was trying to say is the more exposure of myself to with the people in the high school and middle school, the more easier it is to know that I'm not that much different.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I would not let the disability make that much of a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Sira? What was it that helped you realize that, what was actually going to work for you, what life you really wanted?
Well, I learned at what I would consider to be a young age to like stand up for myself.
Mm. So what did you
Because
have to stand up to yourself about?
like with other kids in my schools, they would like bully me because I was different, especially after I got transferred out from the handicap class.
Mm-hmm. So when you
And
were
I would,
mainstreamed.
yeah, and especially outside on the playground, they would push me and stuff. And at some point, I felt like I had to stand up for myself and not go and tell mom all the time.
So did Ma give you any advice, or did anyone give you any advice about how to stand up for yourself at that time?
Well, mom would always say, to tell them, if you don't stop picking on me, I am going to get my mother, and she's going to lay whatever on you, and you really have something to cry about.
I think she did that for all of us because we were all bullied or had somebody that was mean to us or something at some point in our lives, and for different lengths. And she would be like, just tell them that I will get them. And she'll put her lips like this.
Yeah.
Just tell,
I do
tell
that
them.
sometimes myself.
Yeah. But we would practice. I don't know about you. When I was bullied in middle school, it was horrendous. And I'd come home crying every day in 7th grade because I was being called a slut and a whore and a bitch and yellow because they said that the Hispanic people was like, I wasn't Hispanic enough. And with the black people, I wasn't black enough. I was too light skinned. So they would call me yellow. And I was just kind of in this onslaught, this like gauntlet walking down the hallways in middle school, like every day. And I remember my ma telling me to stand up straight and to look where I was going and to ignore everybody and to and not let them see me cry. And then I could go in the bathroom and I could cry for 5 minutes, wipe my face, wash my face, put it all together and go back to class. And so I did that and I practiced and we would role play. I remember role playing a lot. We did a lot of different role playing for different social scenarios in our family meetings.
Yeah, I remember those.
Right?
But I don't think the mom would actually like how I actually started to stand up for myself in like Huff Elementary School.
What was it? What happened?
This guy, I still remember his name, Russell. He was like a big guy.
Yeah.
He knew that I had like balance issues, so he would try to charge at me on the playground.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to time it. I like sidestepped him before he got to me, grabbed him by the shirt, kind of spun him around and let him go. He was kind of scared of me after that.
That's pretty cool and impressive. I suspect that Ma would actually really like that.
Well, she didn't. Yeah, but she didn't like it when she made a surprise visit to my high school, our high school.
Mm-hmm.
And she saw that I was just proving to this guy that I knew how to put a guy taller than me in a headlock. And she caught me, and she caught me having him in a headlock.
Very,
and
very cool.
And she gave me a lecture about it, and she was really miffed.
That was that. The other thing that's changed is that our mom and our dad both have changed a lot over the course of our lives. It's been really interesting to see them choose differently and how that's impacted us. You know, both of our parents have married and divorced multiple times, so we had a lot of people coming in and out, and not just always married. It was also some like long-term girlfriends, long-term people, partners, and things. And so, I can speak to how that impacted me. But instead of going into that, like, how did you notice the different people, and we don't have to mention their names, but how did you notice the different people respond to how each of you are different?
Well, I think the first marriage, that guy was more accepting to how things were at our house.
Mm-hmm.
And how things ran in the house.
Okay. So that would be actually the second marriage, because the first marriage was our dad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the first marriage after our dad.
Yep.
Yep, that would be your second. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so how did he respond to you specifically?
He was nice to me. I mean, he would hang out with us, spend time with us, and he was a really cool guy.
Okay. And the second, and we can talk about the other partners, because there's on both sides we've had.
Yeah, the second guy Mom married was okay, but it was like after the ring came on, to me it seemed like he was trying to change things.
Mm-hmm.
And
so how did he respond specifically to you? Like, let's focus on you, because there's a lot we can talk about for all of these. So like for each of you.
Yes. To me, he was like more trying to control me, like yelling at me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like yelling and do this, do that, do this. I'm like, that's not how things go.
Yeah. Yeah. How about I'm gonna come back to you. So what about you for our mom's marriages?
Aside from dad, the second marriage that mom has, we got along pretty well actually. You're the one that got me into this whole math and building, you know, all the engineering field. So that's when I got interested in all that. And soccer was another thing. I mean, we was both totally into soccer, and that was another big thing. So he has been one of those big impacts in my life. Probably from middle school to high school. Middle school to high school, or just only middle school? I know it was during elementary for sure. I'm just trying to figure out when did it stop exactly. But yeah, and then after that, the second marriage. Um, for him, I believe the impact for him was, you know, to learn more obedience, but you know, when it comes to cleaning around the house, helping around the house, and also for driving to help me learn to drive. And I think that was also an impact too, because without him, I would not have my license or a car.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something about that. I mean, we had been supportive with a couple of things. I mean,
One of the things I love about the marriages is that, you know, we could easily go into, oh my gosh, my parents married and divorced multiple times and it was so horrible and like, oh, it ruined my life and like it was so unstable. And I used to have that story. I don't know about y'all, but I used to have that story. And now I'm like, wow, there was a lot that was actually really a contribution that was actually really great about it. Like what you're saying about the second marriage, you know, after our dad, we had this amazing person that was really kind, that totally opened up our worlds because he was Algerian. And so we had all these people from Morocco and he spoke like 5 or 6 languages and it just totally brought up even more. I already loved languages and then it totally like ramped it up even more for me. And we could talk about traveling and all these different things. I think our points of views about some of the other stuff is a little bit different. So like, yes, there was a time that we would spend together, but I also recall that there was a lot of times where that person would just kind of be in the basement on the computer all the time and not really engage with the family. And so it was more like a peripheral, like supplemental person instead of another parent. But when he was around, it was really enjoyable. And then for the third person, I would agree that there was a really big shift that between before marriage and after marriage. And, you know, a lot of things came to light that was really challenging for a lot of us in different ways. I really love that as much as I have no interest in having a relationship with that third husband now, that he's still able to have your back and was able to help you, Shani, like get a car and you have an ongoing relationship with him, and that you don't expect us to have a relationship with him. You're okay that we don't. You're not like, oh, you should talk to him and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, like you get that that doesn't work for us. And we get that that does work for you and we don't guilt trip you for seeing him.
mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's one of the things that I really love about our sibling relationships is that there's those moments, yes, when we're like, really? Like we poke at each other and we're like, are you really going to do that and all that? But at the end of the day, we let each other do whatever we want and we love each other anyway. And we're like, when are we next going to see each other? Like that's really the focus. Like when are we next going to have fun? And just being an allowance and just being like, okay, you know, whatever you want to do, just keep me up to date. Let me know what the big shifts are. Like I want to know about them. And otherwise I'll assume that you're just doing awesome because you're awesome, I think is one of the things that I'm so grateful for the two of you, because I've said this to my friends. I'm not sure if I've ever said this to you in person, but when I talk about you, when you're not here, when you're not in the same place with me, I say my sister and my brother are two of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. They're way sweeter than me. I tell them this straight up. I was like, I'm not the sweet one. They're the sweet ones. And one of the things that I also love about the two of you, and I'm not sure if this is maybe because you were judged so much and you had so many people that kind of tried to like limit you and contract what was possible for you, but you don't ever do that for other people. Like you don't judge other people and say, well, you can or cannot do this. Even though tons of people told you that your whole life, you didn't choose to then do that back out into the world. And I just think that that's really impressive, because a lot of people would have chosen to be like, oh, this is what I got. This is what I'm going to send back. Like I'm going to mimic it. And you haven't chosen that. And I just think I really, really admire that in the both of you, that you didn't let the world and everyone else's stuff about you, which is only like one little thing about you, like you having spina bifida and you having a hearing loss is like one small aspect of who you be in the world. And yet people make that everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so not. Like, and that's part of why I resisted being called gifted. I went to a gifted high school, a residential high school, and I resisted. Everyone says, oh, you must be a genius. You must be so gifted and da-da-da. And one, I was not really willing to receive compliments and acknowledgments with ease back then at all. I really had to work on that. But two, I also didn't like any time that anyone made any one part of me like everything I was. Like they're like, oh, she's really, really smart. And that was like everything. So like Siris is the smart one, and Shani's the sporty one, and Sira's the creative one. And they try to like separate it out and like put us in these boxes. And I was like, we're all love movement in different ways. We're all creative in different ways. And we're all really intelligent in different ways. And so I didn't like it when it's almost like when they were complimenting me, they were insulting the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
But
and
that
I never
was
liked
back
that.
then, isn't it? That's something that they would say when when we were in high school, we were going separate ways back then. But if you were to stay 10 years from that time, or even like right now, for example, from now to what we're talking about in high school, do they say that same thing as it is now, or no? I'm pretty sure they say completely different now.
That's a great question. I don't care. Like I used to care a lot more and hear and listen.
We used to care. Not only you.
Like in 1 year, out through the behind. I'm like, don't care.
That's graphic. Yeah, right now, like they might say that, they might think that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear it. I haven't heard it. So that's something. Maybe they just know that we're beyond those definitions now.
Yeah. Because I've noticed before they don't really say much about how smart I am or I'm sporty or anything. But now that even the fact that I mentioned that I'm studying computer science, artificial intelligence, I'm like, oh wow, you must be smart. I'm like, I'm not sure about smart, but I can take it as a compliment. But it's just something that I enjoy doing, you know. I like being on the computer and working with computers, you know. I like the problem. It's what I like to do. It's not having anything to do with being smart. It's just you enjoy what you're doing. After trying almost 5 different majors in college, I just find something that I actually enjoy doing, you know.
Yeah. And you didn't give up. You could have. You didn't give up. You didn't give in. You didn't quit. And I'm just so freaking proud of you. I cannot wait for your upcoming graduation. I am going to be there with bells on. It's going to be awesome.
Don't embarrass me, please.
Jingle bell.
I make no promises. I make no promises. So, gosh, okay, there's so many questions I could go here. So I have a question. Okay, so this is a question I would really, really love to hear from you guys. So what future would you like to see in the world?
Well,
are you talking about?
To be honest,
Go ahead.
You know, I'm like nature lover and stuff like that. I would really love this planet to be cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff. You know, back when, like, I don't know, thousands of years ago, like cleaner and the pollution to be like gone.
Mm-hmm. And you're also an animal lover.
Yeah, and animal lover. I mean, a lot of the animals that used to be over here are like either extinct or endangered.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and it's mostly because of the pollution we humans are doing to the world. So
I would also add that it's not just the pollution, that it's also all the anger that we're doing, all of the upset, all of our choices to actually go against our awareness and our consciousness. Because a lot of us, we don't even ask the question about not us as in the three of us, but a lot of people in the world do not ask the question of like, what is my choice creating in the world? Like I wake up every day and all my choices that I'm making, I'm considering the world in my choices. It's not just about me personally. I'm like, what is this contributing to the world? Is this creating something and creating more possibilities, or is it destroying the world? Is it destroying possibilities? And so a lot of times, in my point of view, if we would just be willing to actually ask the question of like what impact this would have on the people around us, in our communities, and on the world, we might actually have some more awareness and information that might guide us to choose something different. Like, I love that you love animals so much in nature and everything, and that you like working with animals and all that. That's so cool. And that's one of those things. It's like, you're choosing to contribute to animals and work with that, and that's consistent with what you believe would the future should be like. So your choices, you're choosing choices that are actually creating the future that you'd like to see. And I think that that's awesome, because a lot of people, they'll say, this is what I'd like the future to be like, but then they're not making choices now that will actually create that future. So thank you for that. And thank you for inviting me to look at animals and people in a different way, especially the animals. Like, out of the three of us, I think I was the one that liked animals the least initially. It was always, you two were always like, animals, animals, animals. And I was like, maybe cats. Like, I love felines. And then it kept broadening and broadening. And I'd want to play with, I mean, we'd go to the zoo and things like that, but actually having different pets in our home, it really came from you two. And then I started being more and more open to it. And so I just want to acknowledge that, like, if it wasn't for the two of you, like, I wouldn't be as much of a lover of animals and as much of an advocate for animals as I am now. Because it was totally impacted by what you being like, oh, I want to bring this dog into our house. Oh, let's get a gerbil. Let's get a rabbit. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, let's get a hamster and let's have fish.
You remember the rats of mommy's classroom rats?
Yeah.
I love those.
Oh, yeah.
There's mixed feelings. There's some mixed feelings about it. Got it. So, Shani, how about you? What future would you like the world to have? What would you like to see?
Well, as our sister was saying, nature and animals, I'm a little bit of a rival of that one. That's how we get along, because I'm more of a technology person, and nature has been a part of me, yes, but I've always thought of something, how do I say it? Let's just imagine like a solar panel roof. Make it eco-friendly, but like a solar panel roof, something with technology involved, a smart house, like a smart house. And I would have thought, I was hoping for something that would benefit us, but not to rely on it so much. Like, we rely on technology so much, but there were at some point that kind of, like, what should be best for us? Like, we really don't know what's best for us, because we keep thinking more of technology, but then we rely on them so much that we may not know our other skills that we needed, like our motor skills, like when it comes to driving. We have a self-driven car, so do we really need a self-driven car? Just something like that kind of example, it's kind of a struggle. So I'm hoping to continue with this 50-50 of technology and not too much technology. And as I was saying, like a smart house, for example, with an eco-friendly environment. And I think that having a solar panel roof would benefit all of us. I'm not saying that we should get it, but if it were to be affordable at that time, that's something I would recommend. And if it's for me alone in the future, my idol is Tony Stark, which is like the Iron Man. So I will probably be building my own house into something like that, futuristic stuff. So, and it would be like in the middle of that nature, like nobody will ever gonna find me in that area,
So maybe like a combination. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I might go to you when it comes to having a house. The solar panel rules. I'm calling you, boy.
I'm gonna make sure I have a biometric security, so I make sure if it's you, you're not coming.
It's like, and the gates are closing. Yes.
Yeah, if you do that to me, you're not gonna be stepping foot in my house.
Well, here's the other thing, though, that I noticed is that for both of y'all, there is this earth component. It's just in a different way. And then I have the other piece, another piece of it is the consciousness piece. If people were actually more conscious, where it's like consciousness includes everything with no point of view, if they were actually willing to look at everything that's possible and be really pragmatic and make choices that are actually going to contribute to the earth having a sustainable future, like, oh my gosh, there's so many possibilities there. And I love that each of us are contributing to the earth and the world having a sustainable future in just different ways. And there are way more ways than what we've mentioned. Like, everybody can choose different things and do what lights them up. You with your technology, you with the animals, me facilitating classes around the world and things like that. It's like, whatever it is, like, you'll know, like, each of us know what's actually going to create and contribute to that future. And we also know when what we're choosing doesn't. And it's just a choice if we choose to actually have that future that we know is possible or not. So you already mentioned that there's some things like having the solar panels and the smart homes and actually, doing that dance between benefiting and using technology, but not being so reliant on it that you don't have basic skills like the motor stuff, like social skills, actually being creative without technology, pencils and artwork and things like that, that's still a value. Both of our parents are artists, and it totally impacted our childhood. We're all appreciators of art in different forms because of that. Brilliant choice on our part to choose these parents because they're both beautiful and brilliant and really creative. And there's so many things that were inspired by them too. Like, the sports for you, our dad's a coach, right? And so he was a big part of us playing tennis and wanting to be active. And then he also introduced all of us to art. He's a painter and does a lot of multimedia artwork. And my mom with her cake baking and decorating different cakes and making flowers by hand and all these different crafts and embroidering and crocheting. And it was just all these different ways to like enrich our lives. So we had a lot of different materials and experiences that we could explore so that we could know
how to swim.
Yeah, and swimming. I can't forget that. Like, we all are such water babies. And so I'm just want to also mention that and acknowledge wherever they are in the world, thank you to our parents that they expose us to a lot of different things. Some of them amazing and totally a contribution. Some of them not so great. And we still chose beyond it, and we're creating beyond it. And if it weren't for them coming together, we wouldn't be together. And I would have it no other way. I can't imagine my life without the two of you. So grateful. And thank you so much for joining me on my first episode in Choosing a Different Future. I couldn't have thought of anybody better to start off this show. So thank you for that. And I will talk to both of you very soon. I'm hoping to see you in the Chicagoland area in the coming months, probably May or June. Definitely for Shani's graduation, whenever that is. If someone would tell me the date for that would probably be helpful. Until next time, thank you so much. And so for everybody else, thank you so much for watching us chat as siblings and for taking the time to listen to us, to listen to our experiences individually and together. We could definitely talk more. We're going to have a bunch of different people coming on in the upcoming episodes, all people who have been choosing something different beyond what has been expected and projected of them, that hopefully may inspire, may invite you to a different possibility, may connect you to some new experiences and people that you might not have considered otherwise. I'm really excited for our lineup for the rest of this season. If you have anybody that you would like to recommend for a guest on the show, you can email at choosingadiffrentfuture@gmail.com. Again, it's choosingadiffrentfuture@gmail.com, and just address that to me, and we will contact them and see if they're up for it and go from there. And so thank you so much for watching, and then I will see y'all again next time.